welcome to my Monday Mashup this week. My name is Jo and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the UK. Today we're going to be mixing up a couple of stamp sets and also a couple of dies with some of our DSP. So today we are using the Gnome for the Holidays. I keep coming back to this stamp set because I just think it's so beautiful and it looks so good in so many different colourways that it's worth sort of revisiting for different sort of cards and stuff. So that's what we're using. And we're also using just one of the greetings from the Peace and Joy set. I've also used the rectangle stitched framelits. So I've used this little sort of rectangle here. And then from the Word Wishes dies, I've used the Christmas die, sorry. So we're a bit of a mix up here, but today I'm also using this beautiful paper pack called Plaid Tidings. Now this is it's really lovely. It's got all different plaids of all different sort of colorways. Beautiful pink one there. So there's some really lovely designs. That one would be great for Halloween, as with that one. So you know, there's some really beautiful designs in here. I won't lie, some of them remind me of old handkerchiefs that my granddad used to have, but actually they're really beautiful when they're all sort of put together. So we're using those in our card today. So if I just move these out of the way, I have pre-prepared quite a bit of it just because just to save a little bit of time really. So we're starting today with a Whisper White card base. So this is our thick Whisper White, so it's nice and sturdy, will stand up really nicely. And this is a standard C6 card, so it's 21 centimetres by 14.85, scored at 10.5, and we're going to be using it in landscape format today. I've then got a layer of Cherry Cobbler cardstock. Now this measures 13.85 by 9.5. I've then decided to use the black and white. There's two black and whites actually in this plaid set, but I love this one. I think it's really classy. It's really sort of, it's almost silvery tones. I really love that one. So we're using that, and that is 13.35 by 9. And then finally you need another Whisper White panel, and this one's going to measure 12.35 by 8. And what I've done is I've used the stitched rectangles to cut 3 windows from this. Now, when I cut these, I have done it by eye, so you can line it up and measure it all accurately if you wish to. I like to do things by eye because these are handmade, so you know they're sort of what they are really. So I started off with one corner, I then did the other corner, and then finally I did the middle one so that I could sort of kind of balance it out as best as possible. So that's that. And then I have already coloured and cut my gnomes. So there's 3 gnomes in the set, so here they are. So you've got one lady and the 2 men, and I wanted to really limit my colour palette for this card to make it just so it all sort of blends in together really nicely. So all I have used is Old Olive light and dark blends, and I've used Cherry Cobbler light and dark, Smoky Slate light and dark, and then just finally my colour lifter just to blend in, especially some of the greys, because the greys are obviously what you want to blend in a bit more than the others. So they have been coloured using those. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to create a 3D sort of effect where my gnomes are going to be poking through these windows. So what I want to do first of all is to attach those. So I think I'm going to have my lady in the middle, and then I'm going to have the two male gnomes here. So they're going to tuck just inside. This one's really fun. I like him at an angle because it looks like he's really jolly. And you can see on this one, what I've done is I've actually cut round the edge of where he's holding that bauble, because what I want to do is to slot him behind, but just to have the bauble come into the front, as is sort of the mistletoe on his hat as well. So I want to attach these into place first. So if I take those apart, I'm just going to use Tombow glue on these. Now obviously I need to be a bit careful where I'm going to stick it, so I'm just going to sort of position it so that I can see roughly where that glue needs to go. And because obviously I am gluing on the correct side, which is quite obviously unusual, so you just need to be a little bit careful. So I'm going to pop him in now, just making sure that that glue's not seeping out anywhere. Okay, so that's him done. So then I'm going to move on to, I think I might do the other male gnome first. So again, remember I'm going to tuck that inside, and I'm just going to have the bauble here just hanging on the outside, as is the mistletoe. So again, I just need to add some glue just to the bottom of his feet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to glue some on the other side in a moment. So I'm just going to pop him on, just make sure he's in the right place. I'm going to tuck his little hand over there, that's it. Okay, so now I'm happy that's where he's going to be. I am just going to add a tiny bit of glue just to his bauble and also to that mistletoe, just on that edge. I've got quite a new glue, so it's quite coming out quite quickly. So there we go. So that's the two men. I'm now going to attach the lady here. So I can have her exactly where I want her, and I'm going to have her quite high because I want her hat, her Christmas tree hat, to sort of stand up as far as possible. So this doesn't leave me a lot to glue her on. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a piece of Whisper White cardstock, just a scrap piece. In fact, I need it narrower than that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it to the back of her. Okay, so that just gives me something to play with. So I don't have to put any glue on her whatsoever. I'm just going to glue onto this strip so that when I pop her in, I can literally position her exactly where I want to. I'm just going to lose her feet, but I want her to stay where she is. Okay, so the same again as I did for this one. I'm just going to add tiniest bit of glue just onto the top of that there, just to hold it in place. Okay, so that is my gnomes actually stuck to my piece. Now I'm going to pop this onto 3D dimensionals so that it sort of stands up a little bit and just looks really nice. So I'm going to do that in a moment, but the first thing I want to do is to add my greeting. Now for this I have already pre-cut my greeting. So this is the Christmas from the Word Wishes dies. And what I've used is our 3D foam sheets. So these are like solid sheets. So they're like our dimensionals, very slightly deeper, but you can actually put them through your die cutting machine with your dies. And if I'm doing a curvy word sort of like this, I try, if I can, to keep the word inside my die because it just makes it so much easier for positioning. Now you do have little pieces that appear in the middle of the letters. So I'm just going to pull those out before I stick it down. Another piece there. Sometimes they come out easier than others. If they don't want to come out, then I would say leave them alone and we will do it afterwards. These little ones are usually quite good. It's that middle one of that A. Yeah, I'm going to leave that one in and we'll deal with that in a moment. So now that I've got this in position, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it where I want it to appear on my card. So I'm going to put this quite central and I'm just going to place it into place. Okay, so now that that is down, I should then be able to lift my die very carefully. So as I say, just do it very carefully, but it means that everything stays exactly where you want it. And this is that middle of the A, which I'm just going to pull out there. There we go. So that means that it goes on nicely, and it also stays in place really where you want it to be. These curvy words can sometimes distort a little bit, so by leaving it in the die it just means that it obviously stays in place a bit better. So the next thing I'm going to do is to just glue my plaid to my cherry cobbler piece. Oops. Just make it sure it's all lined up nicely. And I'm actually going to attach this to my card front as well. So this is all just being glued flat to my card base. Okay, so now I'm just going to add some dimensionals to the back of this. So these are our standard dimensionals I'm using, and I will need to cut 2 or 3 of them just to give me some support around the edges. So I'm also going to pop some on top of the gnomes, just because it will hold it in place that much better. So I'm just going to take a few of these, as I say, and just cut them in half. I am going to pop another bit at the top of that gnome's hat, because remember, he's not attached to anything. It's better to have more probably than you need, because especially if you're sending it through the post, if there's not support underneath the actual card itself, then it can sort of sometimes get squashed in the middle. So just don't be afraid to add more than you need. As I say, it's better to have more support than not enough. Pop that one in there. Okay, so I'm just going to take the backs off these. Nearly there. There we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to hold this up against my card front and just position it as centrally as I can get it. Okay, and then the final thing I want to do, actually there's 2 things more I want to do. First of all, I'm going to stamp the happy, which comes from the Peace and Joy stamps, and that's just going to go onto a scrap of Whisper White cardstock, and literally I mean scrap, so just keep whatever you have around that you can use. Now, when you're inking these solid stamps, you do need to make sure they have a really good covering of ink, because if you don't, what happens is they tend to come out quite blotchy. So you might take 2 or 3 attempts, but hopefully if you've inked it nicely, it should come out quite well. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that now. Now, I'm not leaving any border on this. I want to cut it completely flush to that black edge. If you open your scissors nice and wide, you should be able to get it all in one quick cut. There we go. So that's my happy, and I think I'm going to glue this one flat to the card front, because remember the Christmas is already on dimensionals. fiddly little thing. Okay, so just positioning that so it's going to be central to that, oops, that middle window and between the two higher parts of this word. And I need to spot a little dot onto my eye. So you can use whatever you wish, but I'm going to be using these wonderful gems today. So they come in a mixed pack of the red and gold, and they have these beautiful like glitter in them, but then they're not all consistent. They're all sort of mixed, so they make a really nice sort of base. And I'm just going to pop one of these off, and that is going to form my eye dot. So there we go. I'm not going to add any more to that today because I think that sort of is quite an understated sort of card. But I actually really like being able to use the gnomes in a slightly different way to what we have done in the past. So I hope you like that today, and I will see you next week for another Monday mashup, and enjoy, have fun. Thank you, bye.